How much do you know about the deadliest natural disasters in human history? And about nuclear weapons? Did you know that the first atomic bomb was called Little Boy and the smallest tsunami in the world is an ordinary wave? What is more dangerous, a tsunami or an atomic bomb? Let's start with the fact that a tsunami can be of any height, unlike an atomic bomb. The world's tallest tsunami, with a record run-up height of 1,720 feet, or 0.52 kilometers, occurred in Lituya Bay, Alaska on the night of July 9, 1958. A rock mass plunged from a high altitude down into the waters. The force of the wave removed all trees and vegetation. Millions of trees were uprooted and swept away by the wave. The US dropped the deadliest atomic bomb in the world on the Japanese city of Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. The Fat Man atomic bomb exploded with an energy of about 21 kilotons of TNT. 80,000 people were killed in less than a minute. Over the next 2 to 4 months, the acute effects of the atomic bombings killed between 90 and 166,000 people. It has been estimated that after 5 years, 200,000 or more people were killed directly or indirectly by the bomb's effects, including burns, radiation, sickness, and cancer. The August 27, 1883 explosion of the Krakatau volcano in Indonesia is one example of an eruption-caused tsunami. Powerful waves swept across the Indian Ocean. For those living nearby, the events would cause the death of approximately 36,000 people and the destruction of hundreds of coastal towns and villages within a radius of about 500 kilometers. Ships as far away as South Africa rocked as tsunamis hit them, and the bodies of victims were found floating in the ocean for months after the event. The AN-602, also known as the Tsar Bomba, is the biggest and most powerful thermonuclear bomb ever made. It was the result of a feverish attempt by the USSR's scientists to create the most powerful nuclear weapon yet. In a flash, the bomb created a fireball 5 miles wide. The flash could be seen from 630 miles. Tsar Bomba unleashed almost unbelievable energy, now widely agreed to be in the order of 57 megatons, or 57 million tons of TNT. That is more than 1,500 times that of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs combined. Kuril Islands, 1952. This earthquake, with an estimated magnitude of 9.0, generated tsunami waves which washed away several Kurils almost entirely and other settlements on the north of the Kuril Islands. After the earthquake, the majority of the several Kuril's citizens fled to the surrounding hills, where they escaped the first wave about 20 meters high. However, most of them returned to the town and were killed by the second and third wave because they didn't know that a tsunami is a series of waves. About 23,000 people died. Do you know how many nuclear bombs it takes to destroy the Earth? One might recall that the Earth's average diameter is 12,742 kilometers. Think, for instance, of the B-41 nuclear bomb with a maximum yield of 25 megatons. If detonated at an optimal height, the B-41 would generate a fireball approximately 4 miles or 6.44 kilometers in diameter. It would have been able to destroy reinforced concrete buildings 8 miles, circa 13 kilometers from ground zero, and most residential structures 15 miles, circa 24 kilometers from ground zero. And it would take about 615 B-41 nuclear bombs to destroy the Earth. Most tsunamis were not as powerful as an atomic bomb, and it would take many more years for humanity to eliminate the consequences. Please leave your comments and suggestions about which of them is more dangerous. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's compare. Coronavirus and Ebola, epidemics that took the lives of many people. What is the difference between these invisible enemies? Which virus is more dangerous? Ebola virus is a hemorrhagic fever. As for coronavirus, it is responsible for an outbreak of pneumonia of an unknown type. Both diseases are extremely dangerous to humans. Ebola affects organs in the abdomen. With the progression of the disease, the functioning of the kidneys and liver decreases. The disease caused by coronavirus affects the respiratory system. Such pneumonia can completely destroy the lungs in a short period of time. The method of its treatment is not yet known. Did you know that Ebola is transmitted only through direct contact with the fluids of an infected organism, such as blood? coronavirus is much more insidious. It is spread by both airborne drip and through animal carriers. It is not yet known what is the vector. It can even be pets. Because of this, people in the region of infection are placed in the strictest conditions of quarantine. It is only allowed to go out once a week. The Ebola outbreak began in Africa, and it was limited to that region. Coronavirus began to spread from Hubei province. However, even when China imposed strict quarantine conditions, the virus broke through the border. At the end of February 2020, infections were recorded in the United States, Australia, Britain, and many other countries around the world. The annual Venice Carnival has already been cancelled in Italy, and schools and government offices are completely closed for quarantine. Many tourists lost huge sums of money spent on tickets, hotels, and excursions. The Ebola mortality rate was 70 to 90%. Deaths from coronavirus range around 2%, but that doesn't mean it is less lethal. While 8,000 people have been killed by the African virus, coronavirus has killed more than 2,000 people in just 2 months. This number is increasing every day. In China alone, 68,000 infected people were registered. World statistics have already counted more than 80,000, and 200 people have been infected again. And that's just the official data. In Europe, the number of infected people increases by 10 people every day. In 2015, scientists withdrew the Ebola vaccine. There is no vaccine for coronavirus yet. It is simply impossible for countries to go all out on inventing the cure due to the increase in deaths around the world. If Ebola has not particularly affected the economy, but when we talk about coronavirus, the stock exchanges are suffering a lot. In the United States, the Dow Jones Index fell 3.5%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index fell 4.5%. That's the worst performance in recent times. Pharmaceutical companies do not miss the opportunity to cash in on the epidemic. In Italy, the price of bacteriological masks soared by 1,700%. Moreover, you can only buy them online. The shelves in the shops are empty. Many doctors refute the protective properties of such masks. It's like hiding in a wooden house from the atomic bomb. Even if the regions where epidemics are raging are far away enough, don't think that the danger will not affect you. Be prepared for anything, because perhaps soon we will face the era of post-apocalypse. Christians still comprise the largest religious group in the world, representing nearly a third of the total global population. But do all Christians think the same? Let's study the past to understand this. The Roman Empire was split in 395 AD. Christianity became the official state religion of the Roman Empire, both East and West. Let's try to understand what their differences are. Difference number 1, a pope figure. Probably the biggest and most obvious difference between the Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church is that the Orthodox Church doesn't have a pope figure. For Roman Catholics, the pope is not only supreme, that is to say, he has immediate jurisdiction in every church in the whole world. In 1870, the First Vatican Council strengthened the central position of the papacy by means of its dogmatic definition of papal primacy. The Roman Catholic Church is considered the center of Catholicism. The Orthodox Catholic Church has no central doctrinal or governmental authority. It considers Jesus Christ to be the head of the church. Patriarchs, metropolitans, and archimandrites cover certain points of administration. Difference number 2, asceticism and fasting. It used to be that Roman Catholics had them a moderately rigorous fasting tradition. Now, largely speaking, the only obligation for most Catholics is that you don't eat meat on Fridays during Lent only. The Orthodox Christian, who is really following what's expected of us, we end up fasting almost half the days of the year. Difference number 3, iconostasis. When one walks into an Eastern Orthodox church, one of the first things a non-Orthodox person will notice is a large screen of iconostasis at the front of the nave or auditorium. This often beautiful structure is not merely decorative. It serves an important purpose within the Orthodox system by marking off the boundary between the common area and the sanctuary. Orthodox priests pray over the elements on the altar, which is located in the sanctuary behind the iconostasis and therefore set apart from the congregants. Difference number 4, icons. Another thing one is quickly struck with when walking into an Orthodox church is the pervasive presence and use of icons. However, the icons in an Orthodox church are usually quite different from those found in Roman Catholic churches. Within the Orthodox tradition, religious imagery is carefully controlled and for the most part is produced on a flat surface using paint or something similar. Difference number 5, the involvement of the children. Orthodox Christian babies are fully engaged in the whole life of the congregation sacramentally. Roman Catholic children are baptized, but they can't fully participate until later, around 7 to 8 years. For those who didn't know, Eastern Christians make the sign of the cross from the right shoulder to the left, while Western Christians make the sign of the cross from the left shoulder to the right. Difference number 6. The Russian Orthodox Church possesses the power to forgive sins, where there is true repentance and sincere confession. Roman Catholicism teaches that the treasury of merit, the store of good works belonging to Christ and the saints, is placed under the charge of the Pope, who possesses the power to dispense merit through what are called indulgences. These indulgences not only bestowed pardon for sins committed already, they were used to license the commission for future transgressions as well. Difference number 7. For Roman Catholics, kneeling is one of the most distinctive physical gestures of praying during the celebration of Mass. In the Orthodox Church, people make prostrations or full bows to the ground. Difference number 8. Although Eastern Orthodox do not normally bless themselves with holy water like the Catholics do, a quantity of holy water is typically kept in front of the entrance of the church, where it is available for anyone who would like to take some of it home with them. Difference number 9. In general, Orthodox Christian priests and monks wear long beards and Roman Catholics do not. Difference number 10. The veneration of relics in the Catholic Church is an ancient tradition. Jesus' clothes, remnants of the cross on which Christ died, nails with which he was nailed to the cross, etc., as well as the veneration of martyrs, saints, and blesseds. Difference number 11. Orthodox priests are divided into 2 distinct groups, the white or married clergy and the black or monastic. In the Catholic Church, clerical celibacy is the discipline by which only unmarried men are ordained to the episcopate. We hope we are able to explain the differences between the Orthodox and the Roman Catholic churches. The criminal world is full of secrets and mysteries. That is why it's so interesting. Everybody watched movies about the Mafia, the Japanese Mafia, Yakuza, or Italian Sicilian Mafia. Let's compare them. Mafia officially became an Italian political force in 1861. But the Italian Mafia was a myth for other countries, and even the FBI did not admit its existence until 1963. And Yakuza has a 400-year history, closely connected with the history of Japan, which is confirmed by the numerous Japanese criminal and police dramas, which are very popular nowadays. Yakuza is legal in Japan. The headquarters, decorated with metal identification plates, can be found right on the street. In Italy, mafiosi were partially legalized. It is still impossible to open a business without the support of local authorities in southern Italy. In the past 10 years, the Italian government has been actively fighting against the mafia, organizing sweeps and removing mafioso from their posts. The first mafia is Cosa Nostra, a brand of the Sicilian Mafia, which foundation was laid down by the family of clans. In English it sounds like this thing of ours. It means our business. The term Yakuza comes from the group of card players. Subsequently, the name Yakuza began to be used for all Japanese organized crime groups and is still applied for them. The Italian Mafia's code of rules does exist and defines the regulations of the proper relationship between each other. The basic laws, its principles, and beliefs are mentioned there. Yakuza is based on the values of the patriarchal family, the principles of unquestioning submission to the boss and strict adherence to the set of rules. Today, the Mafia can easily be called the largest business area in Italy. Drug dealing, sheltering of small enterprises, and prostitution brings a €63 billion income to the Godfathers every year. Yakuza also manages several business networks in various fields, from construction to the porn industry. There are Japanese mafiosos who act illegally. The police adopted the special term borokudan for them. The boss, or godfather, is the head of the family in the Italian Mafia. He receives information about all the acts that are done by each family member. The boss is elected by vote. The Yakuza clans are led by an oyabun, or kumite, head of the family, who gives orders to his subordinates. The members of the Yakuza gangs treat each other as father or as elder, younger brothers. The Italian Mafia picked its way into the local and the state authorities, not only in Italy, but also in the USA. The Yakuza also have bases in America. The largest base is in Hawaii. Main occupations: drug smuggling to America and the transport of American weapons to Japan. Yakuza holds exams for members of their organization to make sure they know the laws well. The questions in the worksheet cover a wide range of topics, from waste dumping to car theft, and they organize an initiation ceremony too. You won't succeed in joining the ranks of the Italian Mafia for any particular reason. It is no longer necessary to be a purebred Italian. Former police officers and women cannot enter. So, we compared the two types of the Mafia. Write your favorite films on this topic, as well as suggestions for us to compare next time. Perhaps we will choose yours. Like, subscribe to the Let's Compare channel. It'll be interesting. Plague and AIDS are two of mankind's worst diseases. Black Death and a virus called the 20th century plague. Let's compare. Plague is an acute infectious disease of a group of quarantine infections. AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, is a deadly disease, the treatment for which do not exist. History and loss. 3 colossal plague epidemics are known in history. The first had begun in Egypt and devastated almost all the countries of the Mediterranean and held up for about 60 years. The peak of the epidemic was in 542. In total, about 100 million people died. Black Death was originated in Asia, and in 1346 to 1348 it raged in Europe, where 25 million people became its victims. The third epidemic was the largest. It began in China in 1855, and in a few decades it had spread to all continents. More than 12 million people died in China and India alone. AIDS is now one of the most significant health problems in the world. The statistics for 2018 indicates that since 1981, time of the beginning of the epidemic, 75 million people had contracted HIV, and 32 million people had died from co-contaminant diseases. The causes of occurrence. The cause of the plague is a bacterium, plague bacillus, which is present in the body of small mammals, and its agents are fleas. Scientists believe the HIV was transmitted from monkeys to humans around 1926, and it was first described in the early 1980s. How diseases are passed onto people. Plague is passed from animals onto humans as a result of the bite of the infected flea, direct contact with infected tissue, and by airborne transmission. AIDS is passed through unprotected sexual contact, from mother to child during pregnancy, childbirth and nursing, and through the blood. Symptoms and complications. Plague occurs with a severe general condition, fever, pulmonary and visceral involvement. The death is caused mainly by severe sepsis, tissue rotting, and intoxication by toxins. In the case of AIDS, most patients die from infections or tumors associated with the immunodeficiency. The most common is tuberculosis. Treatment. Plague is now treated with antibiotics and anti-plague serum. In the Middle Ages, it was practically untreated. AIDS can be treated, but it cannot be cured. We can't do that yet. Treatment of HIV-positive infections is their prevention, symptomatic treatment, and antiviral therapy. Unfortunately, that's it. Consequences. The mortality rate in case of bubonic plague now does not exceed 5 to 10%. Without HIV treatment, the average lifespan is 9 to 11 years, and life expectancy after diagnosis with AIDS, in the case of absence of therapy, is from 6 to 19 months. We have compared two terrible diseases of mankind. Did you like the video? Put a like and subscribe to the channel.
The USA or Russia, an eternal confrontation that makes the calmest of people engage in active discussions. Well, let's compare. Number 1. Army and armament. War is not the best way to solve problems, but if we compare, we can say that both countries spent about 16% of their budget on defense. US contributions number to $716 billion, and they reach $46 billion in Russia. Number 2. The state budget. The Russian state budget is $303 billion in 2019, while that of the Americans is $3.4 trillion. An interesting fact is that about 1.5 times more money is allocated for one American than for one Russian. The United States spends more money on education, healthcare, and research activities, but Russia wins in public expenses. Number 3. The GDP. The USA takes first place GDP per capita, while Russia is after the top 20 countries. Number 4. Natural resources. If we talk about natural resources, Russia ranks first in the world. Minerals, forests, and lands are estimated at $75 trillion. The USA is second on this list. The total price of her natural resources is estimated to be $45 trillion. Number 5. Classification. In the USA, the quantity of the middle class exceeds the two other layers taken together. For Russia, the middle class is a totally new phenomena. According to many sociologists, this layer does not have a clear outline in the Russian Federation yet and can be determined quite tentatively. Number 6. Education. Compared to Russian education, the American one is more adaptable plus more focused. The students are focused on their majors. Russian universities, meanwhile, have inherited a wider range of disciplines since Soviet times, which may not be useful later, but they broaden their horizons significantly. Number 7. Lifestyle. Americans cook food at home much more rarely than Russians do. Cafes, restaurants, and fast foods are an integral part of the American lifestyle. Number 8. Medicine. US medicine is well developed, but it is very expensive for its residents. The outpatient treatment costs $10,000 on average. A doctor's consultation costs $200, and medical insurance must be paid monthly. In Russia, medical care is generally free. You need to pay only for individual examinations and analyses. Number 9. Corruption. In the Corruption Perceptions Index, the United States is in 22nd place. The index is 71 out of 100, while Russia is in the 138th place with its 22 points index. Number 10. Death penalty and prisoners. The United States has the largest number of prisoners in the world. That is more than in Russia and even more than in China. The death penalty is a legal punishment in 29 states as well as in US federal law. In Russia, a moratorium has been imposed on it. Number 11. Mentality. We must not forget about the generous nature and intestinal fortitude of the Russian people. Their unlikely individuality and mentality. But the citizens of the United States are distinguished by their cheerfulness, which surprises all visitors. Like and subscribe to the Let's Compare channel. There are plenty more interesting things ahead.